In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Tyk context variables to control how the gateway processes your requests. You can find information about context variables on the Tyk documentation site. Just search for context variables. Before you can use context variables, you need to enable them in your API definition. To do that, go to Advanced Options, scroll down to your context variable setting, and make sure that Enable Context Variables is ticked. Then update your API definition. To use context variables, go to the Endpoint Designer. I've created 3 examples. The first is a URL rewrite. In here, I've configured the URL rewrite to match against the pattern rewrite, and then it will rewrite that to anything / and then I've added the syntax for the context variable. So we use $tyk_context dot headers _ my _ header. And what this will do is it will extract the value of the header it finds, my header, and it will add it into here, and that's where the request will be redirected to. So let's see that in action. As you can see here, I have the header, my -header. And one thing to note is that when dealing with headers with the context variables, the way that Golang processes these means that when you are referring to them here, you need to, first of all, capitalize and also convert any hyphens into underscores. That's why my -header has become my _header with capitalization for each word. So in the request, I provided the header with the value hello world, and I'm sending the request to rewrite. So when I send that request, we get a response, and we can see down here that the URL that was requested was actually /anything /hello plus world, reflecting what we sent up here. For the second example, I've created a body transform. In here, I've provided a very basic transform template where it's going to change the body to be transform-body, and then it's going to fetch a header from the context variables, and it's going to look for my header. Let's see what this looks like. So we have a post request to the post URL, and I'm providing my -header. Again, make sure you change the capitalization and use underscore when you're actually referring to it in the context variable syntax. And I provided hello world as my value. So when I send that request, what we find is we see here in the data, you can see the transform body, hello world, and also we can see here that the actual JSON data came through as well. Same thing, hello world. For the third example, we'll be using the header modification plugin. This plugin is going to inject some headers. The first header it will inject is the injected header, and it will get that, the value of that, from the my header. The second one is going to be data from the query string, and it will add that to the request data header. And then the third one, it is going to inject a request ID as the request ID header. The request ID is a random ID which is generated for each request, and it can be used for request tracing. So let's see that in action. If I send that request, we can see here that we're going to provide the data here in the query string. This will appear injected into the headers. We're also providing this hello world as my header. So let's see what we end up with. So my header was provided there, and then we have the injected header, which gets the value of this and uses it here. We also have the request ID, which is unique each time. Then we also have the request data, which is taken from the query string. There are other variables which are available. You can find information about them here in the Tyk documentation.